Hello and welcome back to Scale Down Customs. In this video I'm going to experiment with how to prevent ghosting when you're working with plastic models. Using any kind of body fillers or putties, it tends to do what's called ghosting. When you put subsequent layers on top, the solvents then react with each other and you can still see the filler underneath your primers and paints. So I saw a new product by Createx Colors. It's their UVLS Clear. It comes in matte, satin, and gloss. It's an ultraviolet light stabilizer, clear. It protects pigments and dyes. You can apply it as a top coat over any Createx paint for indoor or outdoor projects. You can use as a primer direct to the metal, plastic, wood, glass, and more. This stuff is pretty thick, and so you will need to use some of their reducer. They have the 4011, just a regular reducer, and then I have just the 4012 high performance reducer. So we're gonna try this and see how this works. So I have a hood here. I'm gonna cut some holes in this hood, and then we're gonna fill them with using like an automotive grade body filler and then some Tamiya putties. And half of it I'll do with the UVLS Clear, and the other half I'll just do with the regular modeling techniques that we all use. And we'll see if we get any ghosting through the UVLS Clear. All right, so I'm going to use the Tamiya putties on the outside here and then just some automotive grade body filler for the insides. And then we'll mask it up and spray one side UVLS Clear. Then the other side, like I said, we'll just do our regular building techniques on top of and see if we can actually use this as a sealer. So we'll let that dry up and then we'll move on with the sealer. All right, so I sprayed the left side with the UVLS Clear, and then I put a couple light coats of primer on there. And for my primer, I just used the Mr. Hobby Mr. Surface 1000. All right, so I got it sanded down and put a piece of tape across there. You might be able to see the tape line. Taped up the right side, sprayed the coat of the UVLS Clear on the left side. I'm still trying to figure out how to work with this product, so I think I put it on too thick. There's a little bit of buildup around some of the edges. A little bit of orange peel, but I sanded it down after I let it cure out. And it actually sanded down pretty smooth, so that's looking pretty good. On first glance, I can see a little bit of the body filler still there, and of course the Tamiya putty is really evident on this side. Can't really see anything under the UVLS Clear. And again, the Tamiya putty, you can see a little bit of a groove, but that's due to sanding. I can't ever see, I even put a couple coats on there. I can't seem to get that super smooth, but that's just the putty not being smooth yet. So far, that's looking pretty promising. But generally what happens when you put down your paint over the top, it begins to react with the solvents in the products underneath the primer, and that's when you start to get ghosting. First stage of primer looking pretty promising, and we will get some paint on this and see how that looks. All right, so I got some paint on there, about 3 coats of paint on there. Once again, it's looking pretty promising. So got the UVLS Clear again on the left side. So let's go to the right side. So you can see some pretty significant ghosting where the Tamiya putty is. You can see a little bit of ghosting where the automotive grade body filler is, and then of course you can see the line where I taped off the UVLS Clear and sprayed it on the left. You can see how uneven the UVLS Clear was, but that's because, again, I think I sprayed it on too thick and it built up a little bit around the edges. I cannot really see hardly any ghosting, if at all. A little tiny bit maybe, but that's pretty good. And maybe because I sanded it down quite a bit to try to get rid of the unevenness around here, maybe if I would have put another coat on there. But that's pretty significant from the non-UVLS side on the right to the UVLS side on the left. And again, you can see the Tamiya putty, but that's because it's uneven, not because it's ghosting. There you can see the difference in the actual the putty there on the right side versus the left side. And again, the body filler from the right side to the left side. One final test will be some clear on this, and I'll use a 2K clear because that stuff is pretty hot. But again, so far that's looking pretty promising. So we'll see what happens when we get some clear on it. All right, so I got a coat of clear on there. It's a little rough. It's got a lot of dust specks and whatnot in there. But let me see if I can bring this up. There is no ghosting under the UVLS clear. A little bit of ghosting there. And I don't know, the Tamiya putties on both sides, it looks pretty rough, so I don't know that I'm gonna consider that. I'll just stick with the automotive grade Bondo for my results. And again, the left side is the UVLS clear, the right side is not protected, and there is a little dimple. You can see that in there. And I'm gonna get this sanded down just a little bit so it'll bring out those low spots even more so we can see it a little bit more clearly, and then we'll take a look at that. Alright, so the clear I used was the Zero Paints 2K clear, and it went on really thick, which gave me some pretty significant orange peel, as you can see there. But again, in this video, I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about the ghosting, where it sinks into the putty or the filler or whatever. Whenever you paint over the top of it, it reactivates it, soaks in. Put clear coat over the paint, reacts everything again, soaks in some more. So it just kind of keeps sinking over and over again. And that's not what we want. So again, protected with UVLS clear by Createx, not protected. So I think that's a pretty good result. That's quite encouraging that you can possibly use a UVLS clear, water-based acrylic clear from Createx to use as a sealer after you've done body work, filler, things like that, to keep things from reacting when you paint over them or clear over them again. So that's just the Createx Colors UVLS Clear. Acrylic, again, it's a water-based. This is the gloss version. So give it a shot, see if it works for you. You might have to play around with it a little bit to kind of get the consistency figured out when you're spraying it on. If I were to do it again, I would probably do 2 light coats just to give it a little bit more protection. But even with just the light coat, that actually sealed everything in quite nicely. So I soaked the hood in my alcohol bath overnight to see if it would take it off. And it, of course, took everything off, the clear coat, the paint, the primer, but it did not take the UVLS clear off. You can see it's a little shiny on the left side still. That is the UVLS clear. On the bottom half here, I sanded it, so you can sand it off, and it sands off pretty smooth. But as you can see, my isopropyl alcohol bath did not take all of the sealer off. So there you go, a little experiment with the UVLS clear as a sealer. And I think that worked pretty well. All right, so go try it, see what you think, see if it works for you on some of the products you're using. But for me, the result is pretty encouraging. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.